Hi everybody, my name is Jon Lydell. I'm going to be shooting my first YouTube video, cooking video today. And today I'll be making chicken and biscuits for you. Now, normally when I make chicken and biscuits, because I've made it plenty of times, it's something that I really love, I really enjoy. But normally I would use frozen or store-bought biscuits, because there's a lot of really good brands out there that actually really work really well with the gravy and everything like that. But today I decided to be a little bit more adventurous and try making homemade biscuits. So for now we're going to start with making the chicken and biscuit stew. And today I will be using chicken thighs, which I have right here in this bowl. I also will be using Lowry seasoning salt, some poultry seasoning, black pepper, some granulated garlic, fresh carrots, fresh onion, and frozen peas. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to season the chicken. So we're going to grab the chicken, and I got some, like I said, I got some Lowry seasoning salt right here. We'll throw some on there. And you want to be generous, don't be shy on the seasoning. Grab the garlic right here. Sprinkle some of that on there. I also want to grab some black pepper. And I like using the coarse ground. Some people like the fine ground, but I really appreciate the coarse ground pepper. I think it gives more flavor, it's very flavorful, and works really well with most of the cooking that I do. So we're gonna get in there, we're gonna mix that stuff up right there. Alright. So now that's really mixed up really well. Wash my hands. So I got a pot here and I already heated it, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw a little bit of olive oil in there. And then about a tablespoon of butter. I already hear that sizzling in there. You get it nice and coated around. Wait for that butter to melt. And then I'm gonna put the chicken thighs skin down in the pan. Look at that. So nice. And what you're looking for here is you want to really get a really good nice sear on the chicken, because it's going to create a nice caramelization in the bottom of the pan, and it's going to coat the veggies really nicely, and it's going to add really good intense flavor. So while that's searing, we're going to start cutting our veggies. We're going to use one whole onion. Peel that really nicely. All that skin off of there. And we're looking for a small dice. So I'm gonna cut it about a ½ inch from the bottom, ½ inch again. Make little slices along the onion, and then we're just going to chop down a nice small dice, and hopefully not get it all over the floor. Although that probably will happen, honestly. And we're going to try our best not to cry, because onions are quite potent. So I do apologize, but I am working with an electric oven, or electric stovetop. I do prefer gas, but it's what we have to work with right now. And it will brown eventually. I just don't want it to get too burning white. Let's see, I'm about to cry already. So that's one whole onion. We'll put it in this bowl right here. Next, I'm going to peel 3 carrots. A little tip on cooking also, you want to always make sure that you keep your work surface clear. Just less clutter, makes it better that way. You can hear the chicken sizzling and nice and beautifully getting golden brown. It's going to be really good. Alright, come over here to the chicken. Let's flip it over. You see that nice, beautiful sear there. That's exactly what we're looking for right there. And it's going to be great. So what I'm going to do with the carrots is, depending on your preference, you're going to cut them to any way you want. Honestly, you can cut them in big chunks, you can cut them in coins. I personally like them in a smaller dice. So I'm going to cut the carrot down a little bit. Then I'm going to cut them into kind of like carrot sticks. Okay. And then from there, you're just going to cut small, little carrots. Depending on your preference. I mean, you can cut them big, you can cut them small, any way you want to. We're going to put them in a bowl. And as you can see, I'm putting all these ingredients into the bowl. It's going to be really easy for me to throw all these in there as opposed to leaving them all separate. Just nice and quick. Nice and easy. Alright, so that's that. At this point, I am going to open my frozen peas. Like I said, just very, very nice and easy. And I'll also pour them in as well. Come over here and chicken. Alright, so the chicken's ready. We're going to take it out. And I'll put it on this cutting board. And we'll let that rest for a little bit. Now all them good juices in there, what we're going to do is we're just going to throw all of our veggies in there. We're going to saute those in there. And it's going to add nothing but great flavor. It's going to be really, really good in there. Nice and coated in there. So at this point, I am going to season the vegetables because I believe in seasoning. In all stages of cooking, you need to season. The only thing I would shy away from is adding too much salt because you always add too much salt, but it's very difficult to take that away. Some Lowry's in there, and all this stuff I'm doing is all to taste. You can add as much or as little as you like. If you want a nice bold flavor, you can add more. You can always add less. So you can never take away. So adding little by little is best. So what I did is I added some Lowry seasoned salt. I got some granulated garlic in there, and at this point I'm also going to put some black pepper in there. I'm also going to put in some poultry seasoning. Now you want to saute these for about 5 minutes and get them nice and tender. You want the onions nice and translucent. And then at that point we are going to add water And then we're gonna put our chicken back in, and then we're gonna boil it. And what that's gonna do is the bones from the chicken and the skin and the chicken's gonna create the broth that we need in order to make the chicken and biscuits. That's nice. All right, so at this point, the veggies are all nice and sauteed, and we're gonna put the chicken back in there. The chicken back in there, all nice, right on top of the veggies. And then I'm gonna add about 4 cups of water, give or take. Just enough to cover the chicken. So be about 6 cups. And feel free to not measure, so. Unless you're baking. If you're baking, measure. If you're not, then it doesn't matter. Alright, so we're gonna let that boil, and at this point we're gonna start making our biscuits. Fun, fun, fun. So the mixture that I put into the pot, the chicken, the carrots, the onion, the peas, has started to boil. So we're gonna let this boil until the chicken is done falling off the bone. And then we're gonna shred the chicken, and we're gonna finish it off from there. All right, so at this point we got our chicken and biscuit mixture boiling away over here. It's not quite done yet, but we're gonna start doing the biscuits. So we're gonna start with all of our dry ingredients. We're gonna do 3 cups of all-purpose flour, which I honestly grabbed the half a cup measuring cup, so this is gonna be 6 scoops. And you wanna make sure you're leveling off here, because unlike regular cooking, this is baking, very temperamental, so just make sure that you are adding the right amount of ingredients here. So it's 2, and this is gonna get messy. It's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And bear with me, because like I said before, this is the first time I'm making actual real biscuits. So I'm hoping they turn out right. Alright. Put that aside. We're also going to do 3 tablespoons of sugar. Here. 1, 2, 3, half a teaspoon of salt, which I got right here. There it is. Alright. Then we're going to mix that all up right there and there. Nice, get it nice and incorporated. So next we're gonna add our butter, and I guess according to what I read on the recipe, the key to really, really good biscuits is really, really, really cold butter. So I put the butter in the freezer, and I'm gonna grate it into the flour, because normally what you would do is you would cut it with a pastry cutter. Well, I don't have a pastry cutter, so we're gonna improvise a little bit here. So the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of butter, which is about a stick and a half. Well, actually is a stick and a half. There's no doubt about it. No about it. I am using salted butter. I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know. I haven't really done the research on that, but so. Grate that in there. Hopefully this works out the way that I want it to work. And if it doesn't, then I guess we're just gonna have, I don't know why I threw the wrapper away. I should have used it to hold the butter. This is gonna take a while. understand why people don't make biscuits like this all the time. It's a little tiresome. Although I think I'm making it a lot harder on me than I should. I probably should have bought a pastry cutter. Alright, so that was about 3/4 of each stick, which is about the 3/4 of a cup that I need. So I'm going to incorporate this a little bit in here, which doesn't look like it's really working, but hopefully it does work the way that I want it to work. And then after I'm done doing this, incorporating into the flour, we are going to add our wet ingredients. Some of the chunks are a little bigger than I want, but that's fine. We're gonna move on. Alright, so we're gonna check on. Good. So we're gonna check on our chicken mixture. If you look, I was about to say it's getting really, really nice. It smells really, really good, but it's not quite to the point where it's falling off the bone. So we're gonna let it keep going. All right, so for our wet ingredients, we are gonna do one egg and 1 cup of milk. Measure out 1 cup of milk. It says whole milk, but we're going to use 2%. Hopefully it works the same way. Alright, so that's about 1 cup right there. And honestly, I'm going to crack the egg right into the measuring cup. And we're going to whisk it up. Just to get it all nice and incorporated. I like to whisk like this. Works better for me. Alright, it's nice and whisked. And we are going to pour it in there. We're going to get in there, we're going to mix it all around. The directions say not to overwork it, so you want it to be, you still want it to be nice and sticky. Which it is very sticky. Makes me wish I had gloves. Alright. I did just realize that I did not add the baking powder that I was supposed to add to the biscuits. So I'm going to add it now. Hopefully it's not too late and we'll see how it works out. And that was 4 teaspoons of baking powder, actually. If you're making this at home, make sure you add this to the dry ingredients before you add the wet ingredients. Like I said, hopefully this turns out right. Alright, so I learned my lesson. I'm using a spatula this time. We're going to incorporate the ingredients nice and thoroughly. Actually, it's not that sticky anymore, so I might be able to use my hands. Let's try it. Oh yeah, it's a lot better. Alright, so yeah, we're going to use my hands now. Get all that dry ingredients coated and everything like that. Alright, so we are going to lightly flour our surface. That's lightly floured, right? Something like that?
Something.
And we're gonna drop it on there. Alright. Flip it over, and it says to knead the dough for 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So we're gonna knead the dough 10 to 15 minutes. So I've been kneading the dough for about 10 minutes, as the recipe said. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sprinkle some flour on the surface. And since I don't have a rolling pin, we're going to improvise again, like I said before. And we're just going to push it down until it's about 1 inch. Inch, probably. Okay. So I don't have a cookie cutter, a round cookie cutter to make the round biscuits, so I'm just going to use a glass from the kitchen. So we're going to make indentions right here. Nice round biscuits. Hopefully what they're going to be is biscuits. Lightly greased sheet pan over here. I'm just going to put these on here. And I know they are close together, but I didn't want to fit them all on here. I'm not worried about if they touch. But if you do have a bigger sheet pan, I do advise that you use it if you're worried about them touching. And I've already preheated the oven to 450, and we're going to bake these for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so the biscuits are in the oven. They'll be done in about 7 minutes. Right now we're going to check on the chicken and the vegetable mixture that I have boiling right here. So you want to come over here. Take some of this out, put it in this bowl. And, okay, so you can see that the chicken is peeling right from the bone. It's nice and beautiful. So we're going to take it out. Chicken out. And take the skin out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the skin off the chicken because we don't need the skin in the mixture. And without burning ourselves, we're going to take all the meat off the bone. And at this point, it's not going to be very hard to do that because it's already all boiled and falling off already. You want to make sure you're not getting rid of any of that actual chicken because that's all going to be incorporated back into the vegetable mixture to put over the biscuits. All the skin and all the bones right there in the measuring cup. It's all separated. So I learned this amazing trick from my wife, and I use it at the restaurant I work at, and anytime I'm shredding chicken or grinding up meat for meat sauce or anything like that. And if you use a whisk and you just kind of get in there a little bit and just keep twisting and twisting, eventually what you're gonna get is you're gonna get the shred or the ground that you want in something like this, or in meat sauce, anything like that. It works for all different kinds of meats. And you do want want some larger chunks, but you do want you do want to be able to get a spoon of chicken, vegetables, and sauce in every bite. So keep doing this. All right, so that's nice and ground up. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna re-add it back to our vegetable mixture, right back in the pot. I know, it's beautiful, isn't it? So you can only really get stuff like that when you're using actual skin and chicken bone and stuff like that, as opposed to using chicken base or something like that. Now, don't get me wrong, you might have to add a little bit of base to it, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna taste it and see if it needs any more seasoning. All right, so what we're gonna do now is, like I just said earlier, we're gonna taste it and see if it needs anything. Now make sure you're blowing on this, because I can tell you right now from it boiling, it's going to be very, very hot, so be careful. Very good. You can taste the chicken, you can taste the peas, the carrots, and the onions. It does, however, need a little bit of base to give it a nice saltiness, and maybe some more regular table salt. So I know you guys saw this on the counter when I was talking about my ingredients that I was going to use for this video. I did not mention it because I wasn't exactly sure whether I would actually need it or not. This is a powdered chicken base that I like to use. It adds tremendous chicken flavor, it has a nice saltiness to it, and overall is very good for cooking chicken-based soups and different stuff like that. So at this point, we're just gonna add a little bit. So I normally use this a lot, so I really don't measure it, but if you are a beginner at using this kind of product, I would just read the directions, make sure you're following it correctly, and it should be fine. So we're gonna sprinkle a little bit in there, or a lot of it, something like that. All right, so I added a little bit of my powdered chicken base, and I tasted it. It tastes great, nice chicken flavor. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to thicken it. I usually use a cornstarch slurry. Okay, so to make the cornstarch slurry, we're just gonna take a little bit of cornstarch, or a lot of bit of cornstarch, depending on how thick you want your gravy. And we're gonna add water to it until it's the consistency of kind of like a paste. So this right here is kind of like what you're looking for. You wanna make sure it all dissolves, because if not, you're gonna get big gloops of cornstarch in your chicken and biscuits, and that is not very good either. And when you're adding this, you always wanna add it to hot liquid, because the cornstarch does not activate until the liquid is hot. It doesn't start to thicken until the liquid is actually hot. So if you're adding it to a cold liquid, you're not going to get the same effect until you start to heat it up. So you want to make sure that it's at a nice roaring boil like this is right here. And what I like to do is I like to stick my spoon or whatever I'm stirring it with in the bottom and kind of swirl it around as I'm dumping it in. And what this is doing is it's distributing it nice and evenly. You can already start to see it thicken up. It's distributing it nice and evenly. That way, the globs that I was talking about earlier does not happen. So yeah, you can already see it start to thicken up really, really, really nicely. So I'm gonna let this go for a little bit longer, and we're gonna check on our biscuits, and hopefully we're ready to eat. Looks really, really good, tastes really good. It's gonna be great. Okay, so these are the biscuits. All right, so they are a little flat, and I did crack this one open to see the inside. They do feel really nice. They are incredibly dense. So I haven't tasted them yet, but what I want to do is I would like to take some I melted some butter here, and I just wanted to pour them over the top and kind of just like rub it in a little bit, just to get a nice buttery taste on them. before we put the biscuits, before we put the chicken stew kind of stuff on it. And I feel as if this might soften them up a little bit, and hopefully, I guess I haven't tasted them yet, so I really can't judge them right this second besides how they look, but hopefully they taste very, very good.
You're not going to put them back in the oven?
Should I put them back in the oven?
Yeah, that's what the butter's for, usually to like round up the top a little bit.
Alright, well then I guess I'm going to put them back in the oven for a little bit. Alright, look at that. So nice. Alright, so I just pulled the biscuits out of the oven, and although I put the butter on top, they didn't seem to really brown anymore. They do look very good though for my first try, honestly. I gotta say, I'm kind of proud of myself, I'm not gonna lie. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take one of them, I'm gonna split it open for you so you get a nice look inside. They look like biscuits. You know, they are kind of good. They didn't rise as much as I wanted them to, but they do still look very good. But I guess we're gonna find out how they taste. So I'm gonna take 2 biscuits. I like to crack them open, line them on the bottom. I'm gonna take my mixture, and we're gonna spoon them over top of it. And I want to cover most of the biscuits, but I do want to leave a couple dry spots, just so I can taste also just the biscuit. And I guess this is the telltale sign here of whether this is good or not. So you get a good bite here, nice, decent. They are pretty dense, honestly. We're good. I'm proud of myself. Homemade biscuit. Homemade chicken stew. Kind of making chicken and biscuits. Very, very good. Alright guys, it was really incredible cooking for you. This is Jon Lydell. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram at theyoungchef911. And I hope to see you next time. Keep looking on here for more videos every week, and I can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day.